Hey everyone. So I haven't exactly finished my series on The Last of Us. I still have a behind the scenes video in the making, and possibly sometime in the future a prediction / interpretation of what The Last of Us Part 3 could look like. All that will come in due time. But for now, I thought I'd take a crack at something new. Something I've always wanted to talk about, and start up a new series on the channel. So without further ado, this is Batman Arkham Asylum. Created by Rocksteady Studios and written by the great Paul Dini himself, the same writer for the animated series, fans knew this game would turn out to be something special. Also, keep in mind that this game came out in 2009, and back then there were no groundbreaking superhero video games yet. Arkham Asylum was the first of its kind, and today I'm going to be taking a look back at its story, themes, and hidden details in order to showcase just how creative and meaningful video games can be in a narrative sense. So spoilers ahead, let's get into it. Arkham Asylum begins with Batman having just captured the Joker and transferring him to his cell in, well, Arkham Asylum. Right off the bat, you know this isn't going to be the end of it, and Batman gets the same feeling too, stating that it was almost too easy to capture the Joker this time. Just a few moments later though, Joker breaks free from his binds and kills the Arkham staff, leaving Batman behind to chase after the mess. Apart from finding what could be the most amount of details and Easter eggs in a video game franchise, with trophies and flyers and medical records and all kinds of different Batman villains scattered throughout Arkham Island, this game also cleverly puts you in the world's greatest detective's shoes as you traverse Arkham and get to see firsthand just how crazy the world has become since the Batman has made his appearance in it. Record tapes of each of Batman's primary villains are also handheld collectible pieces of trivia for the player to listen to whenever they feel like, all of which feature a look back at their origins and their current insanity rate. None of them, however, are as wild and insane as the Joker, who's allowed himself to get caught on purpose after spending months planning this island's takeover. And of course, he doesn't expect himself to win against the Batman. He only wants to keep the panic, nightmare-fueled game going on as long as he can before the climax. Speaking of nightmare, Joker has also let out some of Batman's deadliest villains to stall him from catching up, including the likes of Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, Bane, and most interestingly enough, the Scarecrow. As if Batman Arkham Asylum wasn't a nightmare enough, former Dr. Jonathan Crane slowly poisons Batman's mind with his new toxin, making him hallucinate his greatest fears and transporting him to a new world, the true definition of nightmare fuel. Scarecrow makes Batman relive the death of his parents, convinces Batman that the Joker has killed Commissioner Gordon, and what is definitely my favorite moment in this game.
Anyone catch the game last night?
Bet you'd never seen a video game do that. In a horrifying moment, both the player, who thinks the game has just crashed, and for Batman, the story resets to the very beginning, with Batman being the patient in Arkham Asylum. All of these sequences truly stand out and are amongst my favorite moments in this game's franchise. Fooling the audience like that, all for narrative purpose, is brilliant subversion of expectations. This game was absolutely genre-defying for its time. It set the gold standard for superhero video games, and it changed the scene for the better. Batman at Arkham Asylum is not only the perfect game to play around Halloween, but it's also the perfect game for Batman fans that are looking for the chance to try something new. We all love our Dark Knight trilogies, we all love our comics, we all love our cartoons, but this is the defining adaptation of the character in video game form. No one has done it quite like Rocksteady, or at least not to the level of this immersion. And once the mind-altering nightmare really ends, Batman continues to chase after the Joker, all leading towards the game's big mystery. A woman named Dr. Young has drained all of the venom from Bane's body and developed a new formula called Titan to superpower the strong and make them giant crazy monsters. And that Joker has been testing the formula on random inmates to see how effective it can be. Once Batman deals with his rogue gallery, he finally reaches the endgame, an area of the map you've actually already been allowed to enter before the game's ending, where you can go to if you feel like being told Joker's plan hasn't been ready yet, and to come back when you are nearing the end of the game. Once at the game's climax, Joker will unleash fireworks pointing you to the direction of that building, welcoming you to the party with a completely optional beatdown if you feel like it. And then an explosion. Batman awakens to find the secret doorway into Joker's hideout was located in that room the entire time. And after defeating all of his henchmen, Joker desperately takes the Titan formula himself and turns into the most horrifyingly ridiculous thing you will ever see in your life. Hey, I never said this game was perfect. While engaged in your final battle with Joker, it turns out that Gordon was alive and held hostage, and after defeating the Hulk Joker, you free the Commissioner. All the inmates are then returned to their cells, and Gordon and his police force regain control of the island, leaving the player in a completely explorable Arkham Island to do whatever he pleases. Like collect Riddler trophies before the sequels add way too many and discourage you from 100% completing the game. And in the game's final cutscene, depending on the difficulty of the game or how far you've completed it before reaching the end of the story, we are treated to 3 different versions of the same ending, with a canister of Titan formula floating in the river, with either Croc, Bane, or Scarecrow retrieving it. Now, why did I bring up this little detail? Well, because I needed a segue into my next portion of the video. That's why. The reason for there being 3 different versions of essentially the same scene is to tease at a future installment in the franchise. However, the fact that there are 3 different versions keeps the player guessing as to how the Titan formula will return in a narrative perspective. Each villain could have their own way of weaponizing the Titan. Scarecrow can use it to further enhance his toxins and potentially turn them deadly. Bane could use it to further power himself up in another battle against the Dark Knight. And Croc could feed it to the fishies and make them more monsters like himself. We really don't know what the result could be here, and that's great. Speaking of sequel teases, the game developers actually got away with the video game's biggest secret for nearly 3 years before having to leak it themselves because nobody can find it. That's how well hidden it was. They actually hid both the plans and the game title for Arkham Asylum sequel inside the game, and had to reveal it to their own fans themselves because people were struggling to find it. The secret can still be found to this day. If you take Batman's explosive gel and blow up the wall inside Warden Sharp's office, you can find that he's secretly approved Project Arkham City, which is to take a broken down portion of Gotham and turn it into a city prison. And it's all been registered to a man named Hugo Strange. That's insane. Ra's al Ghul's dead body can be found when entering Arkham Manor's morgue. However, if you revisit it later on in the game's story, after completing it, the body's gone, presumably taken by other members of the League of Assassins while you were busy handling the Joker's mess. Unfortunate victims of Victor Zsasz are scattered throughout the island, but Zsasz is nowhere to be found after his initial encounter and the death of Dr. Young. He's been working while you've been distracted. In Scarecrow's interview tapes, he speaks to 2 different doctors, Dr. Murphy and Dr. Combs, which are references to Cillian Murphy, the actor who played Scarecrow in the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, and Jeffrey Combs, who voiced the character in the new animated series. References to Joker killing Jason Todd, Batman's second Robin, become prevalent later on in the franchise. I really hope to remember this when I come back to it. Even in one of the game's death screens against Bane, the game recreates an infamous panel from the Nightfall comic book storyline, where Bane breaks Batman's back. There are so many amazing details and Easter eggs in these games, and these are just a few of the coolest in the franchise. There are so many more, from posters to infamous villains like Prometheus, to references to other monumental moments in Gotham's history, like Harley Quinn's classic animated series costume in her old office. And now, if we take a deeper look into the purpose of this game's story, and of the story of the franchise in general, What exactly is this series about? What is it trying to tell us? I like to look at these games as one long toxic relationship between two traumatized lunatics. Arkham Island represents the feeling of never escaping their cycle of repetition, chaos, and panic and fear. Joker causes chaos, Batman stops him. The Joker plays for fun, and the Batman is locked into playing along with him because he refuses to kill the Joker. It's a representation of unhealthy lifestyles, with the Joker being desperate to keep this game going forever, and Batman being desperate to end it before things get too out of hand. Batman is determined, which is how he pushes past all of Joker's insults, traps, and never-ending goons. He will never give up on his mission, and in turn, Joker knows this. It's the common argument put in the forefront. Is Batman actually helping Gotham by sticking around, or is he just inspiring more crazy? Can people like the Joker heal with a Batman running around, or are they destined to battle it out together forever? This game puts that ideology in the forefront. It never leans on one answer being right or wrong. It simply poses the question in the form of all the chaos and mayhem to let you decide. This relationship that they've locked themselves into, they've done so themselves. The city, the island, the asylum has all gotten crazier as a result of both of them refusing to give up on each other. Joker can't live without Batman, the same way Batman can't live without the crazy Joker he brings out of people. At least, that's what we believe for now. The game both narratively and visually displays this point, and the point of the greatest joke the Joker has ever told, all in plain sight. And the sequels only prove this more by diving deeper into this relationship. It goes a little something like this. There were these two guys in this lunatic asylum, and one night they decided they didn't like living in the asylum anymore. They decided they were going to escape, so they got up to the roof, and there, just across from this narrow gap, they see rooftops to the town, stretching away to the moonlight, stretching away to freedom. Now the first guy, he jumps right across with no problem, but his friend didn't dare make that jump. You see, he's afraid of falling. So then the first guy has an idea. He says, "Hey, I have this flashlight with me. I'll shine it across the gap between the buildings. You can walk along the beam and join me." But the second guy just shakes his head. He says, "What do you think I am, crazy? You just turned it off when I was halfway across." The thing about this relationship that works is the corrupt nature and result of its driving force. Batman is meant to be a force for good, and in many ways he is. He keeps the criminals of Gotham in fear from becoming like the Joker. However, for the people who are already like the Joker, they become him because fear is their motivator. They choose insanity because they're fascinated by the psychology of the Dark Knight and want to test the bounds of their relationship with him, even by pushing it to dangerous levels. You see, Joker isn't in this game for one side to win. He never is. He's in this game to keep the relationship lasting forever. Because as long as Batman is around, the Joker has purpose beyond being afraid. Afraid of admitting he needs help. Afraid of admitting to himself that he can be helped. The Joker is afraid that without Batman, he is nothing. He's afraid that if Batman or anyone else made an effort to try and help him, to truly help him, they'd turn off the light while he's halfway through crossing it. That's what this game is all about. As long as Joker can continue to manipulate Batman into chasing him, beating him over and over again, he can never face his fear of being nothing more than just a victim. Batman makes Joker who he is by buying into the violence, by buying into their relationship, and Joker manipulates that into his twisted games because he knows Batman has given up on trying to heal him. Or at least that's what he thinks. Their relationship is destined to go forever if they keep at this. They complete each other as victims and as oppressors for each other's weakness. Joker's greatest fear is being nothing without his partner, and Batman's fear is losing that partner in death rather than in recovery. And that never-ending struggle, the toxic relationship that these two choose to stay in, is the same never-ending chaos, forever trapped within Arkham Island, forever in the madhouse itself, forever within Arkham Asylum.